Hey everyone, and welcome back to Life at Leeds. This is episode 15. I'd already done this before, but I felt like I was too downbeat. I've decided to do it again. This is actually Christmas Eve. I'm doing this kind of more in the festive spirit, so hopefully it will come across as so. So, going into what's been happening in our first season, i.e. the end of the season team review, if you like. We've got quite a few screenshots here. We're going to go through them and get a breakdown as to what's gone right, what's gone wrong. So first of all, what I'm going to do is, I've got Loki Doki's squad view on. It's worth getting it off the Steam Workshop. It is available, it is obviously free, and it gives you everything you need to know, all the key stats, if you like. But what we're going to do is, each stat I'm going to break down to the top 5 people that's done well, basically. The top 5 performing, if you like, at particular stats. Starting with the amount of apps. So the top app maker was Marco Silvestri. A lot of people would have thought it might have been Rob Green at the start of the season, but it was just very poor. I went with Marco Silvestri, who's got more, it seems, impressive attributes suited to what I want, basically. So he started most of the games. He did have hands made of papier-mâché. Have I mentioned that? Any of you have been watching? I always keep saying it. I've noticed it while I've been editing that I'm saying it a lot, so I do apologise. Next down is Kyle Bartley, one of the lonely defenders that we might be saying goodbye to. Like I say, he made 43 appearances, scored 4 goals in those 43 appearances and claimed 1 assist. Made 43 appearances for us, which is a stunning total, basically. He did have a couple of games that he missed through suspension. I don't remember really him being injured that much. His defensive partner Pontus Jansson was next on the list with 39 appearances, all starting appearances as well. Did pick up a few injuries here and there. Charlie Taylor, another outgoing player, he made 38 appearances with 2 coming off the bench. And you could argue the 5th place for this was, you know, you've got Luke Ayling, who started 38 games, or you've got Stuart Dallas, who started 37 and made 16 appearances. So I'm probably going to go ahead and say that he was probably next on the list. Moving on to the goals tally, and no surprise, at the top of the list was Marcus Antonsen. 25 goals all in all for him, 19 from Chris Wood, 17 for Dakara, which was more than a respectable tally from him. With Dallas getting 15 from midfield, which are absolutely exceptional. Keith Stealing, playing 2/3 of a season, picking up 7 goals. It wasn't too disappointing from him. Moving on to the assists tally, and not really breaking loads of records here, but Hadi Sacco got 11 assists in his time at Ellen Road this season. Keith Stealing picked up 10 from that target man role, which was it was handy. He wasn't scoring loads, but he managed to pick up quite a few assists, so I wasn't too disappointed with his performance. Dallas got 9 goals to go alongside his 15 goals. Mo got 7, and Chris Wood got 7 assists as well. Average ratings then, this is where it usually counts. We're not going to count the top one, which is Will Huff, who played in a couple of cup games. He actually got 7.35, which wasn't bad, to be fair, and it bodes well for the future should we need to call upon him, because he's got tremendous potential. David Faraone didn't make the most appearances, but when he did come in, he did make a difference. 7.33 average rating is not to be sniffed at. Sacco got 7.3, with Dallas getting 7.27, Bartley 7.22, and rounding off the top 5, I'm going to say, was Luis Lopez. Since coming in, I had my doubts about him, but 7.2 average rating I didn't think was too bad. Charlie Taylor, of course, getting 0.01 less than him, having made more than double his appearances, but, you know, stats don't lie. Moving on to it into a more detailed level, we've got key passes. The top 5 people were Antonsen made 31 key passes, with Chris Wood 27, Keith Stealing 24, so the strikers all chipping in because, of course, who was the 4th place? It's Dakara. He made 22. Alex Moat, one of the few players from not playing up front, grabbing, in the top 5, grabbing 18 key passes for the whole season. Key headers, obviously you think it's going to be the centre-backs. You've got Kyle Bartley and Pontus Jansson leading the way with 86 and 84 respectively. Chris Wood made 48, mainly playing as a target man. It's no surprise from him. Dakara did fill in at target man a few times, he got 32. And Charlie Taylor, left back, getting 32 as well, which was pleasing to see. Moving on to the key tackles then, and the leader of this was Luke Ayling, of all people. He got 22 key tackles, with Bartley getting 18, Pontus Jansson 17. David Faraone, don't forget, he played a lot of games at right back. He picked up 8 in his short space of time. Charlie Taylor getting another 8 as well, rounded off the top 5. But the main problem, or the main issue really, is the mistakes, and the leading mistake makers were both my fullbacks. Ayling picked up 86, Charlie Taylor got 74, with Kyle Bartley and Angelino 52 and 50, with Brickcut surprisingly not playing that many games, but he made a hell of a lot of mistakes, making 40 all in all, having only made 30 appearances, including sub appearances. The next one down was, Pontus Jansson averaging a mistake a game. Then just moving on to this screenshot here, and just basically reiterating that we were predicted to finish 13th in the league. So because of that, I mean, we're going to the table as it finished. We finished 6th, so we massively overachieved. Not hugely, as in like we won the league or anything, but no one really expected us to get into the place. Maybe a slight chance, and we were in pretty much up there all season, weren't we, really? Between 3rd and 6th. I can't remember a time where we were out of those positions, if I'm honest with you. But we had that really bad run of form just before the end of the season, where we couldn't seem to buy a win. And it's consequently, it's cost us, really, because if you look at the table, we scored 89 goals. That's more than any other team. I actually got an achievement for that. No such achievement for conceding 70 goals, though. And that was amongst the lowest. I think there is Wigan, Rotherham United, Barnsley, they conceded more, and Brentford, and I think that is it. Oh no, sorry, Huddersfield Town did as well. Sorry, booed. But other than that, having like a defensive record in the bottom 8, call it, it's not good enough. It's not promotion material, so that's definitely one area we need to strengthen next season. Obviously we're losing as defenders, so that says it all really. Either that or the goalkeeper perhaps, but obviously we had Rob Green and Silvestri, who are decent keepers for this level, but are they really good enough for a promotion team? So looking at who's going to be coming down, I did mention on episode 14 that Southampton were coming down, and I did actually put some, I don't know if you noticed, I did put some text in to clear that up. It's actually Sunderland who won the FA Cup, and they're actually coming down into the Championship as a European contender, if you like. They're going to be joined by Bournemouth and Swansea, so we are going to be facing up to former man Lewis Cook, unless of course he gets sold into the Premier League. Coming up from League One, we've got MK Dons, Millwall and Bolton Wanderers. Bolton Wanderers coming up via the playoffs, but deservedly so. They missed out by 2 points, and I find it's always really harsh if a team misses out by literally 1 game. Last season, I believe Brighton missed out on goal difference. Is that, someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that's the case. So looking at our results, and obviously we had a decent pre-season. We only didn't win 1 game. That was against Atlanta, the last friendly. There wasn't really any major teams there. Maybe you could consider Deportivo La Coruña. They were a big side. Obviously Eastleigh, because everyone knows Eastleigh's like the best side in the world, as proven on FM16 last year on my save. Probably a bit late to say, go back and check it out. But yeah, and we had a decent start to the season. Only dropping points really against Birmingham City. A tough away game against Sheffield Wednesday, I thought that was a decent point. Again against Forest. Blackburn Rovers are a bit of a disappointment, drawing at home 1-1. And then obviously we lost in the EFL Cup in the 3rd round to Sunderland, the FA Cup winners. So definitely a cup side. I think they got to the semi-final, I believe, of that as well. But then we dropped points against Barnsley, which we should never have done. But all in all, there's a lot of green circles there, and I couldn't be too disappointed. Went on a couple of decent runs. And then we got to like the middle of the season. We played against some tough sides, Wolverhampton Wanderers in particular, Norwich and Newcastle, with Burton in between. And we lost every single one of them, only scoring 1 goal against those sides. But we did beat Burton Albion, of course, 3-0. And we beat Rotherham after playing Newcastle 1-0. So we played against the lesser teams and we beat them, and as you would expect us to do so, based on where they're projected to finish. So, but against the bigger sides, we just seemed to struggle. And Aston Villa were another team, of course. We were above them at the time, but they're a team that came down from the Premier League, so they were always going to be touted as favourites. And they beat us 1-0 at our place, which was largely disappointing. We had a couple of decent results against Brighton and Hove Albion, the team I mentioned before, who narrowly missed out last season. Reading, we beat them as well, 2-0 at home, which was very pleasing. We continued that run against Brentford and Preston North End with consecutive 4-1 victories, 1 at home and 1 away. But Villa, you know, they took points off us again. We drew 1-1. Really should have been getting payback against them. But again, we beat Rotherham again. And then we started as FA Cup run against Port Vale, a lowly 1-0 victory against them. But then this is where we need to be more, you know, ruthless and be better against the teams that are similar to us and maybe a little bit higher than us in terms of quality, likes of Derby County. Arguably Nottingham Forest. Derby County obviously have got some really good players like Will Hughes, etc. That, you know, they've got a lot of quality at that side. So I wasn't too surprised to lose to them, but maybe not 4-1 the deficit. But I didn't understand that Nottingham Forest one. Then we had that awesome 4th round tie against Chelsea when we won 3-2. Largely thanks to like comedy errors, you know, none more notably than Courtois with his silly save into his own net, but then we followed that up with another loss against Blackburn Rovers, so they took 4 points off us. Another team we shouldn't have lost to, but then we went on a crazy run. We beat Huddersfield Town, Cardiff, Bristol City, beat Northampton Town 5-0 in one of his live comms because I thought it could have been a tricky tie. Ipswich Town, we beat them, you know, the team that beat us in the end. Basically, we did a double over them in the league. Sheffield Wednesday, we paggered them 5-0. And then followed it up with followed that by us getting doubled by Birmingham City, you know, 3-1 away from home. But then we were back on the winning scene again. We beat Fulham 2-1. Watford, we beat them 4-0. Premier League Watford. I mean, we beat teams in the Premier League. You know, we faced I think 4 Premier League teams in the end, and we beat 2 and we lost 1 and we drew and lost on penalties to the other being Southampton later on. But that's where the bad form started. We beat Watford. I don't know if it was complacency because we beat a Premier League side. I think they were about 8th at the time or something. I can't remember exactly. It might have been lower. But then, yeah, we drew 0-0 with Brighton and Hove Albion. I didn't consider that a terrible result. But then we lost to QPR. We lost to Reading. Teams that were beaten earlier on in the season. You know, Brentford, they conceded a lot of goals. Obviously, so have we, and it showed 2-2. And we were lucky to get a point out of that, if I remember rightly. Preston North End, we did a double over them, which was nice. And I thought, right, decent victory before Newcastle. We got paggered against Newcastle 3-0. And then Wolves, an impressive point in the end because we were 3-1 down, I believe. 2-0 and 3-1 down. I believe I could be incorrect on that assumption, but then we went into that FA Cup semi-final, potentially getting a place into Europe next season. Should results go our way elsewhere and we get past Southampton, but it wasn't to be. We more than matched Southampton. We lost on penalties. It was massively disappointing. But we had to go on, and we had 3 games after the season. We weren't in any danger of dropping out of the playoffs, fortunately. But we lost the next 2 against Norwich City and Burton Albion. You know, Norwich City, fair enough, top of league, second in league, whatever they were. But Burton Albion, we should not be losing to teams like Burton Albion. No disrespect to Burton Albion fans, but when they were like 19th in the league, you can't be losing to teams like them. You know, but then we followed it up against Wigan, last game of the season, the actual league season, should I say. Absolutely destroyed Wigan Athletic. They were going down into League One anyway. And then the big games at the end. Newcastle, didn't expect anything. We'd not scored a goal against them, and somehow managed to win 3-1 at home. We'd not even scored a goal past them in the league. Won 3-1 first leg, second leg 3-3 draw, and it was just crazy scenes. And then, if you watched the last episode, you'd know how devastated I was, losing 1-0 in extra time to Ipswich Town after we absolutely paggered them. Their goalkeeper had to be the man of the match. Absolutely no question that they had to be the man of the match because the amount of saves he made and, you know, the chances that were missed. I think we had about 29 chances in the end, and 4 of them were clear cut. They didn't have a single one that were clear cut. We hit the woodwork, they didn't, and all they had was about 3 highlights all game. One being a free kick over the bar, one a shot that Sylvester saved not long after half time, and the other one, the goal, a screen pine for like 20 yards out. And I felt massively hard done by, I have to say. So looking at that now, obviously we're looking at the other awards for the league, and we did have someone come 3rd in the top goal scorer award, and it was Marcus Antonsen. He got 23 goals in the league. He lost out to James Wilson, who was at Derby County. He got 27 goals. And Bodferson, he scored a couple of goals past us. He got 25 goals, but it's no shame to lose to players of that calibre. We did, however, get the goal of the season. Alex Mowat got the goal of the season. It was a fantastic goal against Wigan Athletic. Tom Kearney came second, with João Carvalho getting rounded off the top 3. We had 2 players in the Players Team of the Year, one being a starter, which is Stuart Dallas, no surprise there with the amount of goals and assists that he got. And Sylvester got a place on the substitutes. Our end of the season awards voted that David Faraoni, having played only half a season, got the player of the season with 34% of the vote, with Sacco and Dallas coming second and third respectively. Obviously the goal of the season was Alex Mowat, because he did win the overall one, and Luis Lopez was deemed the signing of the season from Espanyol for 725k, and Hadi Sacco is the young player of the season, aged 23. So the Leeds United 2016-17 season review. Leeds have been expected to be amongst those settling for mid-table safety at the start of the season, but they were able to break out of the pack and secure a playoff berth. And as you all know, we know how that finished. So end of the season confidence. Salino is absolutely delighted with the leadership qualities that I'm demonstrating. He will be disappointed that we didn't go up, and I would imagine that'll be some sort of minimum expectation next season. Yeah, but obviously the team's fantastic overall performance in the championship has been a particular highlight. And then we've been hit with a tax bill of around 4.1 million over the upcoming financial year, based on the financial records of the past year. The estimate is based on our club's taxable profits over the past year being approximately £19.12 million. But this is a thing that has kept me buoyed for next season. The board have set an initial wage budget for the coming season at 250k per week and a transfer budget at 9.62 million. That's a lot of money. A lot of money for the championship. So for me, I've got to do it this season. I've got to do it. I've got the money to spend. I've got to use it, and I've got to go all out and get the right players brought in to suit how I want to play. We're going to hopefully push forward on and get into hopefully the automatic spots, because we all know that playoffs are disappointing, as I saw in the last episode. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. Hopefully we can get out automatically. That's the aim. So that is it for the end of the season review. Hopefully you have enjoyed that, and you know, it's provided with some in-depth analysis of what's happened this season. Hopefully you're going to join us for next season, but until then, hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, why not press that like button. If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, until next time, until next season, should I say, I'll see you then. Bye bye.